Because now we're going to talk about food and how our diets impact how we're feeling and also how we're aging. Andreas.
Okay, this is exciting. Let's see. I think we should go back in the slides a bit. We're at slide 47 or something. Let's start with number 1. But I'm going to talk about something very related to the 2 speakers that came before me. But as was alluded to, now we're getting into what we can actually do about it. So how can we solve the world's biggest health problem? And the thing I'm talking about here is truly the biggest health problem in the world. Let's see. So we have an epidemic, as we are all aware, right? Obesity rates have been tripling around the world. This is the evolution in the US from 15 or 10 to 40%, more than three times more. We have something similar happening in Sweden. From the 80s up until today, it's gone up by 3 times, but from a lower level, right? So we're way behind, but we're moving in the same direction. We got this beautiful dietary advice in the 80s. Didn't really stop this from happening. And of course, it's not about the weight on the scale. The problem is how this is connected to exactly what Peter was talking before about metabolic health, which also drives our top chronic diseases. So for example, diabetes type 2 in adults in the US, well, they also got their beautiful new dietary advice in the 80s, and that also didn't help all that much. At least it didn't stop it, right? Not a great track record, honestly. And now we're in a situation where in the US, only 7% are clear in their metabolic health markers, the stuff that Peter was just talking about, metabolic health. Only 7% score normal. 93% have poor metabolic health. We're talking about things like abdominal obesity. We're talking about blood pressure, blood sugar, which is what causes type 2 diabetes or is the core symptom of it, or poor cholesterol. This is what drives our top chronic diseases, poor metabolic health. These factors together, they're clustering together in the same individuals. They drive all our top chronic diseases, like you heard about with genetic testing, right? Heart disease, cancer. These are the top killers in the world. Dementia, stroke. These are the diseases that kill people early and that lead to poor quality of life. And we have an epidemic of these factors that drive this. It's basically, we're talking about accelerated aging. And we are all at risk for this. We are, our parents are, our families, our friends are. This is affecting everybody. In the US, it's a disaster already. And we are quickly moving in the same direction. So what can we do about this? Well, first we have to see what the cause is, right? It's not the genes. They are the same as in the 80s, pretty much. Something changed in the environment that makes susceptible people get these issues. So we have a very, very strong idea about what the biggest cause of this is. And that is our new food environment. And we know this because there is good evidence to show what this does to us. We're talking about ultra-processed foods. They're very different from what we used to eat, and they've quickly taken over the food supply because they are profitable, right? They are profitable in two key ways. There was this very, very interesting study. This has been cited so many times. In 2019, the first study to test ultra-processed foods in a randomized controlled trial, the gold standard of studies, where they took one group of people and fed them ultra-processed foods, and one group got unprocessed foods, and they were all in a hospital setting. They were watched all the time. We know exactly what they ate, but they were told to eat as much or as little as they wanted. So they were just supposed to live their life there, eat the food they got as much or as little as they wanted. And what they found was shocking, frankly, because on an ultra-processed diet, people ended up eating 500 calories extra every day without even thinking about it. Like, the food made them eat more, much, much more. And they quickly gained weight and fat mass around the middle of the body. While the people on an unprocessed diet, they ate correspondingly less, and they actually lost weight during this short study. Like, you can see it straight away. But apart from that, there was no difference. People were equally hungry, equally full, equally satisfied. They enjoyed the food equally. So there was only one difference. Ultra-processed food made people eat way, way, way more and gain weight quickly. So why is this? Is there some sinister conspiracy trying to make us eat more and drive this obesity epidemic? I would say no. It's just capitalism, right? Market economics is profitable. If you make people eat more, they will buy more, and you will make more money. And that's what the food industry has to do to please their shareholders, or they will be fired. So it's a perverse, there are perverse incentives in the system. Nobody's evil. They're just doing their job, and this is the unfortunate result. So we have a food environment now that is driving people to eat much, much more, driving this obesity epidemic. And the remaining question is just, well, what is it about these foods? Is it the carbs? Some people believe it's all about the carbs. Is it the sugar? Some people believe it's just sugar. Is it the fat? Is it the lack of protein? Because protein is usually low in these foods. Is it the high energy density? They are removing the water from the food, making the calories packed together so we eat more, much more. We know this from studies. This also makes the food shelf stable and makes people eat more. So it's profitable. Is it the lack of vitamin or fiber? Is it that people eat faster because they do, and digest it faster because they do? Talk about fast food, right? Or is it the addictive potential, like the hyperpalatability, the thing that just makes us want to eat more? And I think you probably realize what the answer is here, right? It's not one thing. It is all of these things. And that leaves us with a bit of a problem, because then it becomes very complicated. Like, how are you going to make sense of all this complexity? With 15 different things to think about every time you choose what you're going to eat, it's damn hard. So solutions, well, the most obvious solution that is being offered to everybody today is drugs, right? And I mean, I'm a medical doctor. I'm not against medications. I've prescribed tons of medications to many, many people, and I think that's a good thing that we have that. But yeah, we should perhaps also think about, is this the way we want to go only? Like, we're poisoning the entire population with these new foods, right? Everybody's eating much more than they should. They get all these problems. Now we have to give them one medication for their blood pressure, one medication for their cholesterol, one medication for their blood sugar, or maybe 2 medications for each, or 3. And then you get side effects from the medications. You need medications for the side effects, and then quickly it's spiraling, and you have 10 or 15 medications, which a lot of people do when they get older. And now we have a new medication coming up, which is actually, I think, is fantastically interesting and effective, right? We have these Ozempic-like drugs, these GLP drugs, satiety hormones, that makes the brain feel satiated, makes you feel full, make you want to eat less. In a sense, it's an antidote to this effect of ultra-processed foods, right? Foods make you want to eat more, the drug makes you want to eat less. So it's like, should we give antidote to everybody, to 93% of the population? Like, you have to treat with this for life, right? As soon as you stop, the effect goes away. So either we medicate everybody every day for the rest of their life, or like most people at least, or we also try to do something else. So maybe fewer people will need fewer drugs, right? And that means eating better. But then we come up against this problem that I talked about. It's just too hard, right? how are you going to eat better? The idea is, or at least you need to eat less, right? But if you're in an environment where the food available make you want to eat more, then it's very, very hard. It's like trying to breathe less or drink less. It's not pleasant, right? Because if you eat less when you want to eat more, that means you're going to get hungry, tired, miserable. It's not fun. And then you give up. Or at least 99.9%, including me, would give up eventually. So that's not so great. Just eat less is not a great advice. But there are lots of apps, lots of programs that are going to help you count your calories and try to eat less. I think it's almost hopeless. And well, basically, to succeed, you'll have to figure out a way to eat better foods anyways. Because if you eat at McDonald's, French fries and soda, you're not going to make it. You're going to fail for sure, right? So if you want to eat less, you will have to eat better. And with these apps, you basically have to figure out how to do it on your own. They're just going to be like a calculator to calculate your calories. So it's not so great. And then there are all these diets, right? Some of you may know me. I've actually been quite involved with low carbohydrate diets for a long time. And they are one approach that works for a lot of people. If you go on a low carb diet, you tend to eat less. It's higher in protein. It's less processed foods, all kinds of things that make you eat less. You avoid all these carbohydrates, and that's it. Great, right? But it's still hard, because most people don't want to give up all these foods for the rest of their lives. And most people just go back to eating more like they used to. So we're still in the same situation in a way, because it's hard, but in another way. And yeah, you can count your carbs in all these apps, but if you want something for life, it may be hard. So, bottom line here, we know the problem here. We know this giant epidemic that is accelerating aging and the diseases of aging. It's caused by the new food environment. We know the solution, it's eat better, but we're still stuck because it's too hard. Well, maybe there is a simpler way. Maybe that's where this is going, right? So, there is one drug that is just head and shoulders above everything else in effectiveness. Like suddenly we have a medication that actually works. I think this is super interesting because, I mean, yeah, it's a revolution, and that's why it's become so popular. What is it? Again, it's a satiety hormone. It's a hormone that works in the brain, telling you that you are not hungry, you are full. What if we could do the same thing with foods? Are there satiety foods? Foods that make us want to eat less? It turns out, yeah, there is. What are those foods? Well, it's kind of like the opposite of ultra-processed foods, but not quite. So we know that protein makes us feel full. We know that fiber makes us feel full. We know that foods that are low in energy density, that fills us up, makes us feel more full and eat less. And we know that avoiding certain combinations like food, like sugar, fat, salt, in various combinations also helps us, right? But yeah, then we can get more satiety per calorie. Like this is the mind twist that is really hard to get around. I don't think many of you will quite get it right now, but maybe if you think more about it, like I had to do. We're talking about getting more satiety, more fullness per calorie. Because you can get satiety by eating ice cream, right? Just eat enough. It's like 5,000 calories and you're full. It's great. But yeah, you're not going to lose weight that way. But if you eat something that gives you more satiety with fewer calories, then it's a different thing. So can we build a system? Can we make this simple? Because in that case, we could eat all kinds of foods. Like some people may like low carb, some people may like high carb. And some people may like mostly animal foods, like carnivore is popular in some circles. Some people may be vegans. But you can do it either way. It's like an agnostic approach. that isn't, stuck in some diet dogma. It's just whatever you want to eat, you can find foods within that. So it's a beautiful idea, I think. And add a 1-minute video here. I'll narrate it a little bit. But it's really about simplicity. Satiety per calorie. That is the future, I believe, of any diet. Today, you have this complexity, all these numbers. It's too many, obviously. Like, what's the right number? I think 1. That is simplicity. So we take all of these numbers and we make it one number, one scale. Rank common foods on one scale from 0 to 100. More or less satiety per calorie. And it's not just about individual foods, it's about a meal, what you eat in a day, what you eat in a week. You can have an average. And that average tells you if you're eating foods that make you eat more or less. And if your goal is to eat less, you can aim for that. And you can combine it again with any diet. So I'm just surprised that nobody's done this. And we are the first. We're making it simple to eat better. Instead of 100 numbers, you get 1. That's first thing. But it's only the first thing, because a list of numbers is not enough. And that, when we come to the other topic for today, right? AI. Because with modern AI, we can do stuff that nobody could do a year ago, even. And we're doing it. So we have an AI revolution, obviously. And this is going to completely change what an app can do when it comes to nutrition and eating. So we have a company, we have an app. It's called Hava. You may know the word Havamal. It's a Viking Age poem that is quite famous. It's about eating better, living better. This is like the modern AI version, if you will. So Hava, you can download the app. And what does it do? Well, it looks at first sight like other apps. You can log what you eat. But the very different thing is here at the top. Instead of having counting your calories, we're actually guiding you to what's driving that. We're taking one step earlier, right? So it's the satiety per calorie of what you're eating. Yeah, you can see the protein and the calories and the carbs and anything you want. But the focus is what is driving you to eat more or less. So you can look at what you eat in a meal, for example, breakfast here, and you can see the average satiety of this. So for example, if you eat scrambled eggs and salmon and some very high protein Greek yogurt, that's a very, very high score, very high. About 50 is quite high. So if you want to lose weight, maybe aim for 50 or more. Not 100 though, because that's just spinach and egg white, and you cannot live on that. So the goal is not 100, the goal is a good balance. This can actually become too effective. Like for me, yeah, this is by far the easiest and most effective thing I've done. After 20 years of being interested in diets and stuff, this is so much easier than low carb, high fat, or keto, or anything like that. And it can actually become too effective. So I have to stay a bit lower than that. I have to stay at like 50 or 55. Otherwise, I'm just going to be way too thin for my height. Anyway, so you can search for food and log it. And talking about AI, we have something that nobody else has done. These are AI-generated images. So we have 400,000 food items tagged with an AI-generated image. So instead of like ugly thumbnails, you get real, beautiful food images. I think that's really cool. You could perhaps someone has had a breakfast like this sometime. I sure have. Maybe you have a sweetened yogurt, granola, and orange juice. Great, you may think. That's really healthy. It's plant-based and low fat. Yeah, but it's also mostly sugar, unfortunately. So 57 grams of sugar in this. You can get that information in our app if you want. And the satiety score, you can see it goes all the way to the left there. Orange, it's 18. it's too low if you want to lose weight. So that is a way you can use this to see what effect does the food that you eat have. But there is still a problem, because who wants to weigh what they eat? Who wants to type in what they eat? I sure don't, and I think nobody here wants to do that. But AI to the rescue. Something that was impossible just a year ago is possible now. So can we make this? What's the simplest way you can imagine doing this? How about just taking a picture of what you eat, and that's it? And voila, you can actually do that. It's unbelievably cool, I think, and it's just getting better all the time. Now it's really good. We launched this in January, and it was a little bit shaky, a little bit slow, but now it's really good. And I think before the end of next year, it's going to be better than any human ever. So yeah, a few seconds, you take a picture, and you get the ingredients line by line. The weight of the ingredient is there, and you can see the satiety score, of course, but you can also, if you want to see the protein, the calories, the carbs, the fiber, really anything, you just press the button to the right there and you get all the nutrition data. It's trying to keep it clean and simple. So, and then you can do that 3 times a day. How much time is that? That is less than 1 minute. Can you spare 1 minute a day to eat better and live longer and be fitter? I think some people may be able to do that. But if you can't, I can tell you, we have stuff coming up that's going to make this less than 10 seconds by January. So if you feel like a minute is too much, don't fear. And something else we have coming up in December, we're building it now, but it's coming in December, is AI feedback. So that just take a picture and you will quickly get feedback, not just on the score, but actually written feedback, like a few lines about why is it scoring like this? What could you do better in the future if your goal is what it is? So this, I think, is simplicity, right? A minute maximum per day, and you don't need to know anything. The AI will guide you. Your grandmother can do this and be guided. No knowledge required, no time almost. So in conclusion, to wrap this up, we have a huge epidemic around the world, including in Sweden. This is driving what the speakers before me talked about, poor metabolic health and these top chronic diseases. So this is accelerated aging. We don't want that. We want longevity, right? And I think everybody here could benefit from eating well. And the alternative might be medications, and sure, for some people, this is always going to be the right answer. But not for everybody. Far from everybody needs this. A lot of us may not need it. I mean, personally, I'm 52. My genes are not that great. My parents and other people have all kinds of issues. I do things like what Peter offers, test all these things. Everything is like perfect. Maybe it's just luck, but maybe it's because I'm a bit obsessed about this diet thing and obsessed about making it simple. And I think it's really helpful. So we know the problem, the food environment. We know the solution, which is eating better and eating less, but that's too hard. Something needs to happen to make it simple. And I think this is the simplest thing that I've ever seen, the simplest solution I've ever tried. And if you're interested, you can check it out yourself. It's free to download, free to try it out. Actually, yeah, it's possible to use for free, as long as you like. So 2 things to revolutionize this. One is to take 100 numbers and make it 1. The second, to package this, make it, hear me? That's breaking up a bit. To make it truly. Download the Hava app, use it for free. Lunch is coming up. Maybe you want to see the satiety per calorie of what you're eating. Or if you're on a low-carb diet, maybe you want to check the carbs. You can do that too. Or if you're counting your calories, you can do that too. So everybody's welcome. Whatever you're doing, this is compatible with any approach. And if you want unlimited functionality as much as you want, then it's like Spotify or Netflix. So I think that's a nice deal. Check it out at lunch if you're interested. If you want to contribute in any way, if you want to collaborate, I think there are many, many interesting things to do here. Then I'm going to be here for lunch, so just come up and say hi. Thank you.